First Stage Gaming.
Hey everyone, this is Jason here with First Stage Gaming. I have with me once again, I am Sir Gabe from Refried Beaner Productions. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good here. Currently playing some Mario 64 on an emulator. I do want to disclose that I do own a physical copy of this game on Nintendo 64, so I'm emulating this because I prefer to play it on the laptop right now. In any case, speaking of emulation, we recently had some Sony announced that they will be having some emulated software that will allow them to play PlayStation 2 games. Now this is software, of course, meaning that as of now they haven't announced you'll be able to put in a physical PlayStation 2 disc in there. But what are your thoughts on emulation for PS2 games on PS4 and just emulation in general?
Well, as you know, I'm a collector, so I have all the original actual hardware. But for people who don't have it, I think it would be very beneficial if they can play it on one system and you can even bump up the resolution if it's emulated. I think it's very important that Sony does allow it to be backward compatible, and I don't see why, to be honest, they haven't. Because PlayStation 3's architecture is, as we know, very difficult to deal with. And you were able to play PS2 and PS4 games, so why isn't the PlayStation 4 able to play any of those? That's something I think that Sony needs to catch up on, because Microsoft is doing it with a simple update. So,
Well, it may not be as simple as you think. PlayStation 3 did use some quite interesting architecture, cell processor, use some just different ways to make games, and it was overall very hard or harder for developers to make. So it was very specific to PlayStation 3 and the cell processor. So as far as emulating on the PlayStation 4, I know the PlayStation 4 now runs, but it's more of a PC-based architecture compared to the PS3. So that may explain why it's harder, or maybe even impossible, to emulate some of those PlayStation 3 games. However, there comes a question to some of the HD remakes they did on the PS4, such as Uncharted and The Last of Us that they made for PS4 with in higher resolution. I'm wondering if they actually did some emulation there, or did they have to redo everything built on the PlayStation 4. But as far as your question and comment, I do think Sony should go and try to do their best to emulate physical disc rather than just software, because it sucks to have to rebuy something you may have bought on your PlayStation 2 software wise. I mean, it would have to be a way, but I doubt it. You're probably gonna have to rebuy these games, and at that point, why not just play on your PlayStation 2 to begin with?
well, not everybody owns a PlayStation 2. Plus, I know it can be done because if you were to pre-order Battlefield before it came out, you were able to get some classic PlayStation 2 Star Wars games. Let's say Bounty Hunter, and I don't remember the other two, but it proves that they can do them digitally, at least for now. And they are choosing which games they want to do pretty much. And I think that I don't know how easy it is. Obviously, I'm not an engineer, I don't make games, but I'm sure it's a little time consuming, but they can get it done. And it would be nice because the PlayStation brand, in my opinion, is all about PlayStation and their history of gaming. So they should be able to play at least up to PlayStation 2. PS3 is going to be really hard to emulate because it's just overall, I know it's difficult, but for now, you should be able to play PS2 games. And as games get older, people want to play them more. There's a lot of people that are curious about retro gaming now. If you notice, the sales on some of the independent stores even went up because people are curious about old school games. So I don't know how old school PlayStation is considered, but to me it's considered a classic. I'd like to see classic games on there.
Right, PlayStation original came out around the 1995 era, so I would definitely consider it more on the classic side of gaming right at this point. So, although it would be nice to have one system to play, play them all, like PS4.
Just like the original PS3. Remember the original one?
Right, the original launch PlayStation 3 was able to play PlayStation 3 games, of course, PlayStation 2, disc, as well as PlayStation 1 disc.
Real quick, because I know you had a PS3. I never really owned one. I had an Xbox, guys. I know you got the old one that played all of them, right? So did the games run perfect? And couldn't you upscale them too?
To be honest with you, I don't really remember wanting to play PlayStation 2 games on the PS3 when I got it. I was more excited to play my PlayStation 3 games, but as far as I remember, I don't remember having any real problems with emulation. I mean, it's great to have one system that's able to play your older games on there, and that's great. I mean, that prevents you having to switch out inputs on your TV. Many times able to upscale them to a better resolution.
Plus, who wants to deal with emulating on a PC? You can't even emulate some of these games. They're graphically impossible. If you have the best video graphics card, some games just won't emulate right. That's nothing you can do about it. So your shit out of luck games like Power Stone, I know it's a different system, but that game won't run on a PC on any of them. You gotta actually own the game. That game's very, very hard to find. If Capcom would re-release it initially, you can give guys that don't really know what the game's about and give them a chance to play on some of these games. But Xbox is heading in the right direction. Finally, I'm going for them. I mean, I get to play all my 360 games on Xbox One. That got me sold, to be honest.
Well, as far as I know, I think Microsoft is aiming to allow you to play all 360 games. I can't imagine they will achieve that at the end, although it's it's possible. They're probably they're going to focus on the top titles that everyone wants, like probably Halo 2 and
Halo 4.
other games, or Halo 4, other games that the top games that people want, maybe
Right.
Gears of War. I'm not sure, but
Right.
that leaves the question as well. Why not just emulate original Xbox games as well? I mean, why not do everything?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some games out there that maybe are not critically acclaimed, but you might love the hell out of that game. And unfortunately, not enough people know about it. Therefore, they're not going to put it for backwards compatibility. That's where Nintendo is doing something right. If you look at Nintendo, every single console they have, you can at least play one generation behind. In some cases, two generations behind. I'm talking about physical copy. Being able to put an actual disc in there and to play an original GameCube game. I mean, that's what Nintendo is doing right, and I gotta give props for that. I don't know how they do it, but they do it right.
Well, that was great about the Wii. At least the initial Wii's that came out, you had the GameCube ports that allowed you to play GameCube games as well as your Wii games and your actual Wii GameCube input controller. That was great. If you remember though, later on they released Wii's that didn't have that particular.
Right, it was a family edition. It was to cut costs and to be able to sell it for dirt cheap. Every console does that in its hand of its license span, but it still had like 3 years at least with the original one that you could plug in your GameCube ports in there, and I mean that was awesome. I never played a console that actually allowed you to play your old games besides PlayStation 3, I guess. But
Well,
you couldn't plug in a controller PS3, right?
what was that?
You couldn't plug in a PS2 controller because you didn't need to, right? The wireless controller wouldn't work because it was the same controller, right?
Right. I mean, it was the same basic controller,
Okay.
addition of maybe a home button, but Nintendo did do a good thing by allowing you to actually plug in your GameCube controllers as well as a physical,
Right.
disc of the GameCube.
Yeah, even their handheld, you can play DS games on a 3DS, and same with the DSi. You can play all those games. So that's something Nintendo is capitalizing on, and I think people are that's becoming the standards. Backwards compatibility shouldn't be a question. It should just be something that's already included. I don't see why they make it so difficult. I mean,
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of software issues and hardware issues that that prevent full emulation. But whatever Nintendo is doing, they seem to know how to do emulation probably better than Sony and Microsoft. I mean, even with the virtual console stuff, they seem to get everything spot on. With the virtual console.
And they've been doing it for years. If you look back, the Super Nintendo, yeah, you can play Nintendo games. You have a little special cartridge to put your game in there, but it still was able to do it. So, I mean, I don't see why people don't capitalize on Nintendo, right? Kind of follow their some of their needs. But I don't know. A lot of people don't even care about backwards compatibility. Let us know, guys, in the comments. Do you think it's important? Would you like to see old school games on there? I don't know if I'm the only one.
Well, I mean, I certainly prefer to have backwards compatibility if it's there. If it's not there, I mean, I'm not gonna really complain too much about it. Although it is nice to have, it's a very great feature. I have no complaints having it, but at the same time, I don't think I'd really be disappointed if it didn't. Now, as far as something like in the new Nintendo NX that's will be released sometime next year, it's possible that the architecture they're doing and what they're going to do with this possible handheld machine may be so radically different you may not be able to even emulate a Wii game on it, or a Wii U game at that point. I mean, who knows? I mean, it may be so different they may not allow that, but it certainly is curious to see what Nintendo does with that, because they are known to do some great emulation.
Right. Now, real quick, I want to lead on to our next topic, because I'm really anxious to get your guys' opinion in regards to first stage gaming. Physical gaming media. I mean, do you think that digital is going to be the standard in a couple of years, where people are not going to be able to go out there and buy a game physically anymore? Do you think that that's going to take over eventually? And if it does, is that something you'd like to see in your game?
Personally, no, I mean, I'm more leaning on the old school. I like physical media. I like the ability to be able to, collect the physical disc, cartridge, whatever it may be, and be able to, use that and bring it out at any time I want. Don't have to worry about, it not working or me having to re-download something.
Right.
I definitely prefer physical media anytime over any kind of digital distribution. Although there are certain games that you can only get digitally, in today's market, which is unfortunate. I do hope we do not see a future where it's digital only. Although a lot of analysis say that may be the way it's gonna go, but I really hope that it doesn't go fully that way. Although, like I said, it seems like that may be the future, where we will one day remember a day where we had physical copies and now we don't. So I like physical media.
I think I agree with you, and I think not only is it important to have physical media also to be there, I mean, keep the digital as an option, but not a mandatory standard. Because if you think about it, look at the old games you play nowadays, Super Nintendo, PlayStation. Look at all those games. Back in the day when you were playing PlayStation, you never had to think to yourself, in 10 years from now, would I be able to play this on this same console? You never thought that. You thought to yourself, in 10 years I can play this. Yeah, I'll still be playing this game if I wanted to. But now I question myself on new titles on Xbox One. Will I be able to still play these games? Especially the digital ones. Because the servers can be down, the hard drive can, break. It's just a question I ask myself. Am I going to be able to play Castle Crashers 10 years from now? You know what I mean? Games like that.
Well, I assume if it's on your hard drive on Xbox or 360, that you may be able to still get Castle Crashers or a digital game to play. But hard drives are just like any other part. They do wear and tear eventually, and will not work or don't last forever. In that case, this is where you wish physical media is there. And it depends on the physical media too. I mean, there's CD based and also now cartridge based, which I think cartridge based is probably safer, especially with the new cartridges that they have, like for the Vita or the 3DS.
Yeah.
something like a Blu-ray disc. I mean, although it's it's better than digital in my opinion, it is still prone to scratching, breaking. But the Blu-ray discs tend to be less scratch resistant than other discs. But I still would rather have a physical copy, preferably cartridge. And today, I'm sure you can now put a full, a great game on a cartridge. It doesn't have to be a Blu-ray disc unless you're going for something really massive in scale, that's where you're making the Blu-ray storage.
Right, but even an SD card loads faster. It's half the size, a lot smaller. You can hold up 120 gigabytes nowadays on some SD cards. And also, real quick, I like to mention what scares me about the digital era is not too long ago when I owned the Wii, I had bought a Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I had it for the longest time. One day, I had an update from Nintendo. They had to update my system. It was a mandatory update in order for me to play Smash Brothers Online or any game. Just had to update it. So I simply updated, coming to realize that that update also took out Donkey Kong Country from the marketplace because they lost the license to it. So I lost my games as well. Now it's out for the Wii U, but I just like to point that what if they never re-released it? I would have lost out on the game that I loved and I bought because of stupid digital crap. I just physical, you can never go wrong. It's simple as that.
Right. So I mean, in case with the Donkey Kong Country game, or was it Donkey Kong 64? I forget which one. Country. Yeah. There's probably a licensing issue with Nintendo, and of course that's another problem with emulated software or things like that. Is who owns a license to what anymore, and
right.
what is it released? So
right.
I mean, overall, I mean, as much as I like emulated software, as much as it's great to be able to play Mario 64 on my laptop, it's just there's no replacement from taking out an old 64 or Dreamcast or Super Nintendo and just plugging it in your TV.
It works.
Using the same controller you've used and just play the damn game. Not worrying too much about resolution, because that's probably what people I think are concerned about. Oh well, I can have upscaled resolution, it can look better, but it's not going to play any better, So, in my opinion, it's nice to have, but if you have the option to play it, the way it was originally, intended, that's the way I would prefer.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. I think that even be better if you play it on your current console, so it's all in one. But I'm still fine with physical media as long as you keep physical media. That's all that matters.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a feature that everyone seems to think was going to go digital, but I really hope not.
Just real quick, interrupt. If you think about it, the PSP Go is a flop. And why? Because it was a digital console, wasn't it? It flopped bad. No one even talks about the PSP Go.
Well, the PSP Go was a nice idea. They're probably way ahead of their time. It was a PlayStation Portable that only was able to download games off the the Sony store, PlayStation store. But I think it was probably way ahead of its time, because when you look at now, look at mobile games right now. I mean, obviously you can't put really games on a you can't go buy Candy Crush at the store, you know what I mean, like on a little SD card. You have to download it. All these mobile games you have to download, so we don't seem to have too much of a problem with that, but probably because the games are either free or very, next to nothing.
Yeah.
With PlayStation Portable, I mean, you're given, I don't remember, what memory it had built in, and it took those Sony memory cards that cost like an arm and a leg, for their stupid memory, magic memory crap or whatever they have, which they still do today with the Vita, by the way. They have their own, cards that they use, which is annoying, but in any case, you're basically paying for the same, game, but not having a physical copy. And there's just something about that that doesn't really appeal to most people. If you're gonna make it digital only, if you look at the best digital service out there, it's probably Steam. And if you look at Steam, no one seems to complain that, oh, I don't have a physical copy, of my PC game, because it's more convenient to just download it on the PC and Steam, and the prices tend to be a heck of, the prices go down with Steam. I mean, there's really great deals out there with Steam, so you don't really mind paying, the money to have a digital only copy. Plus, there are some, I do believe Steam offers a feature where you can actually burn your game on a disc if you want it. So that should always be an option. I mean, that's the perfect solution. You download on Steam, digital copy, allow you to burn on a CD if you know how to do it. Steam is one of the good examples of how to do digital distribution, how to do digital gaming properly.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I've seen some of their sales this weekend have Black Friday sale. Same with the Xbox. I mean, they're offering a game that never drops. So we're talking about Half-Life 2 Orange Box. That game, I don't ever see it drop too often. It's $5 right now, and I'm actually debating if I should get it because it's an awesome game. I like Team Fortress alone, and if you go to GameStop, it's about $25. So that one I might download. $5, that's a hell of a deal. I'm willing to do a digital. Any more than that, I'd rather just buy the physical copy.
Well, provided you can find a physical copy, you're probably going to have to find one probably at a used game store.
Right.
I mean, digital, has its advantages. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just sit there. Depending on your internet speed, you can, have a game there within a few minutes. So, I just would prefer console digital games to take the Steam model, where if it's a brand new game that's released, offer maybe a $5 discount, $10 discount for not, for buying a digital copy that you may or may never see again once you delete it. That they're saving money on packaging, saving money in having it shipped to the stores and the stores to put on the shelves. So they should offer you a discount if you're going to buy digital.
Yeah, they get 100% profit off that digital rather than going to Target, and Target gets a 5 or 3% off that sale. So I mean, right? I mean, better.
Yeah, so so they should at least offer that savings to the customer, and Steam does that, and I don't see why Nintendo doesn't do it, Sony doesn't do it. I mean, Sony sometimes will have their flash sales that are great deals. Maybe Microsoft has something similar with their Xbox, but they definitely need to have a consistent, if I'm going to buy digital, it's always going to be cheaper than if I go into, the store and buy, a physical copy. That's the way it should always be.
Right. I mean, it's hard to say. There was a time where I did like digital because I thought back then, oh look, I don't have to copy the game disc. It's there. It's always going to be there. I can play it when I want. But came a point when I actually had some experiences, like especially Nintendo, where I no longer own that device. Maybe I traded it in for a new one, and oh, guess what? It's attached to my account. I'm shit out of luck. All my classic games are gone. That's where I told myself, I'm going to start collecting. I'm not going to do this digital bullshit. Unless it's something that, like Power Stone collections, you can't find that game too often. The only way to play it is with PlayStation digital. So a game like that, that's cool. But if I have an option to go buy a game at the store or digital, I'd rather wait the next day and go get it at the store. And even worse is the streaming. PlayStation Now, don't get me started with that. You don't even get the only game, you're streaming the damn thing for a monthly subscription. That's stupid in my opinion.
Well, I certainly, have some mixed, feelings on, Sony PlayStation Now service. On one hand, I'm glad they went to a subscription service where you can, pay, a monthly charge and just stream, the games you want. If you have a great connection with PlayStation Now, it could be a, a good choice. The lag input is not, it's not bad at all. I mean, it's almost like you're there, but I do understand, being able to pay for a subscription-based model, it's just not something. I mean, Netflix is one thing, but gaming, I don't know. I mean,
That's me, though. I'm sorry, but you're gonna. One thing to rent the game, but to stream the damn game, I don't know, man. You're paying what, $20 a month or more, and those games and all the games you're playing, you don't get to keep any of those. That's just, to me, that's a deal breaker for me, man. I'm renting them for a month.
This is probably for people who don't really want to buy games, and they prefer just to play something quick, knowing that maybe they won't ever see it again, and pick it up, play it, then then don't play it anymore. So although it's a great, it's the idea is, on paper might look great. In reality, it's not something we really want to do, and in my opinion, I don't like it as much as I thought I would. I've tried it, and although the games did run great, I mean, I hardly noticed any lag or anything like that. It just, gripes me that, well, I paid for just that one time, and now it wasn't mine.
If it was added automatically with your PlayStation Plus membership, and maybe they strip some games like The Last of Us, some of those titles, you have to actually pay for those, then it'd be an awesome feature that Xbox would have to compete with. Like, you can play, I don't know, games like Assassin's Creed, and you can stream them for free as long as you're paying your PlayStation Now. That would be pretty awesome. But for it to be an actual additional, charge, that's getting too much. I mean, I don't see where anybody would want to pay for that. Most of my guy friends at work that play the PlayStation, own a PlayStation, they don't even like PlayStation Now. I mean, it's just expensive.
Yeah, PlayStation Now is not that great of a model, if you ask me. That's probably why it's not doing so well. And hopefully, it's a great technology, but leave that for maybe their TVs or Sony TVs, or maybe the tablets, or that might be great for that. But keep them out of the consoles, if you ask me. Another, so overall, looking at emulation in general, I think we agree that although it's great, we probably prefer to play it on the original, system it was on with, controller. If you're going to emulate it, please, be hardware emulation, where you can put in the physical disc rather than having to download it, and having to rebuy something maybe you already bought again on disc. So I think that's how it should be. Although if you can do software emulation, I don't understand why you can't do a disc.
See, Xbox, even nonetheless, as we all know, before the Xbox One was actually released, they wanted to do that DRM bullshit. They were pretty much doing the same thing where you can only buy your games, but I don't know if they were digitally only, but you can only play them on that console. And that was a deal breaker for everybody, and that's what caused Xbox, to do miserably the first year. But I don't see where digital comes in, and I don't know where it benefits you more than actually having a physical copy. Unless you're lazy, you can't go to the store and go buy one. I mean, if you're out of country because there's no stores, then yes, I can understand. But I just don't see where this digital is gonna take over. I don't see how would that be a smart move. I mean,
it has its benefits. It also has its downsides. Keep it as an option, but don't keep it as mandatory.
Yeah. That's pretty much a good way to put it. But they didn't. In order for them to convince me to go buy a game digital full price, they're gonna have to knock $10 off, at least $5 to $10. I don't know.
Right. Well, this is it for today's episode, where we discuss some emulation news here, and just emulation in general. Once again, this is this is First Stage Gaming, and then we have
Refried Beaner Productions. Comment down below, subscribe. I will be doing a review on the toilet, guys. Just throwing it out there. All right.
And don't forget to watch reviews on the toilet. And everyone have a great day.